will shine an inquisitive spotlight on AI, the good, the bad, and the ugly, on this episode of United Patriots Uprising with Gary Benford. I'm your host, Gary Benford. Thanks for joining us. This podcast is available at radioinfluence.com, YouTube, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. We'll tell you more about that at the end of the show. In 1964, the Twilight Zone aired an episode entitled The Brain Center at Whipple's. It's about a man who replaced his human workers with automated machines. The final outcome was pretty predictable, but scary nonetheless. In it, the late, great Rod Serling took us into the world of technological unemployment. The Twilight Zone creator, screenwriter, and producer was well ahead of his time. I encourage you to watch The Brain Center at Whipple on YouTube or wherever you can find it. It's season 5, episode 33. Why, you ask? Because of AI, artificial intelligence. Now, I can't tell you much about AI, but I do know this. I don't like it. When I think of AI, I think of that chilling Twilight Zone episode. But since it's apparently here to stay, I recently joined in a Zoom presentation featuring Kay Rubacek. It's an understatement to say I was totally blown away. I particularly was impressed that Kay was balanced. She presented to us the positives and the negatives. We really need to know about this, America. So are you ready? Well, let's get into it. She was born and raised in Sydney, Australia, and now living in New York. She's a keynote speaker, journalist, author, and award-winning documentary filmmaker. Her AI commentary has been shared and read across political and ideological lines, as she's known for taking on head-on questions most AI consultants don't deal with. She's an Epoch Times AI columnist and founder of The Human Edge, a weekly research briefing on what AI is doing to the human mind, workplace, and family. Welcome to the show, Kay Rubacek. How are you, Kay?
I am so well. Thanks, Gary, for having me. I'm glad to be here.
And I'm welcome to have you because when I heard you speak on a Zoom, I knew nothing about AI and you just totally blew me away. So everybody needs to hear this. Now, you've spent 25 years studying patterns which you now see being played out through artificial intelligence. I would gather that few people are even remotely aware these systems quietly are eroding independent thought, human agency, and judgment. Because I sure didn't know.
That's true, because we are not seeing the AI in a physical sense. It's not like robots. It's seeping into our everyday lives, and it's been happening for at least a decade now. We've been hearing little things about algorithms since about 2016. It really started to come into the public sphere, but we don't see these lines of code. We don't interact with them in our normal day-to-day life. So these have been slowly coming into our world without us even realizing it, through Facebook, through all of the social media, through our phones. Now we're getting all these apps and different tools. But I've been following this for quite some time. And now it has just suddenly come into the public sphere where everyone's saying AI is everywhere. And they're saying, well, they're usually saying one of two things: that it's going to change the world in such a wonderful way, it's going to cure cancer, it's going to make our work so much easier and happier, make our lives happier. And then there's the other extreme where people are saying this could end humanity. So we have these two extremes, and the experts can't even decide what's right and who's right. And that's something we don't see very often in any industry. So that's really what I look at, the middle ground of what is going on, but also what it's doing to our minds, because when we use it without knowing how to use it. You can be taught how to use the tools, but if you're not taught what the tools are doing to you, then you're slowly giving away not only your data, not only your privacy, but your agency, your cognitive abilities. Your stress levels are going up, your heart rate's going up, your health is going down if you're not aware. And these are the discussions that really are not being had, but are so important for not just my generation, your generation, but the future of youth, because they're growing up with this. So it's a really huge topic. It's changing the world without us really seeing it and understanding it. So we really have to talk about it.
Yes, indeed. Now, you say that we're now living in a state of flux because AI is moving faster than human beings can. Can you kind of unpack that?
Yes. So AI it doesn't sleep, it doesn't eat, it needs a lot of power and energy in that sense, but it's running 24/7. It is not like any of the human cycles that we're used to. We as human beings, we are used to putting our tools down at the end of the day and going home. The machines might run overnight, right? We're familiar with that, but we're used to being in control of our tools. And when the workday finishes, we go home, we take a rest because we need that as human beings. That is just the cycle of nature. It's a beautiful thing. And that's what our whole world that we know is running off. But when you have AI systems come in, they're moving so quickly now. The chips are getting smaller and smaller, so that's the physical hardware. But the amount of data that is being fed into these systems is really what they run on. They are not running only on the physical data centers and the chips and the hardware, but they're running on data which we are feeding to them in every interaction, whether we know it or not. So a lot of people say to me, I don't use AI. Well, that means you're not using. You are using
AI
it.
uses you.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. So these systems
I got that from you.
are us. Thank you. I think we need to be saying that the AI is using us, and we need to be aware of it. Now, I'm not anti-technology. I'm not anti-AI. I need to say that because I have worked in that sphere for all my professional life, but I'm very conscious of what happens to your brain when you do not have control over it. And these systems are very different to using a hammer as a tool or a calculator as a tool, which have very defined purposes, and we're used to tools. And a big misconception that I like to talk about is that people think that AI is just a tool. But it is so much more than a tool. It is making decisions on its own. So you don't have a hammer going out and deciding that it's going to put those nails in here and there. Now we are seeing autonomous AI in almost every industry making decisions on important things like who's going to get that loan? Is it going to be you or is it going to be the other person? What data are they going to use to decide on that? Is it going to be accurate data? Is it going to be fair data? Is it going to be beneficial to you or someone else? And then autonomous AI being put into vehicles, being put into drones, being used in war. AI is basically in every industry now. I can't think of an industry that AI really hasn't touched, because even artists using the paintbrushes are seeing themselves out of work. I know many designers who have lost their jobs because AI is replacing. It's not necessarily replacing all of creativity, but it's coming into that field. And we really haven't been prepared for it, because how do you prepare for that? And we were not told. So now we're seeing it everywhere. And we need to start asking questions and talking within our families. You know, Gary, one of the big things that I find is that the generational gap, the intergenerational gap between AI users. So Gen Z, for example, 76% of Gen Zers are using AI regularly, like daily. Whereas you compare that to baby boomers, 20%. So, so from Gen Z, then there's the millennials, they're using it about 60%, Gen X about 36, and then the boomers at 20%. So we're seeing this huge gap between, say, the boomers who are looking at the young people saying, what are you doing with these tools? And it can be hard to understand, and that's causing fractions
I
in our
have to
society.
stop you right here because this is one of the things that affected me the most the first time I heard you, because it really hit home when you talked about younger people who were under 40 or even a little bit younger than that, who didn't grow up in an era of privacy. They didn't grow up before the Patriot Act. They weren't around here to understand what the law could do, what the government can do, and what privacy meant to us. And I was stunned when you rightfully said, a lot of these people, we're concerned because AI allows it to look at you, and you're being tracked and you're being seen and you're being watched. And I know I don't like that. You may not like that, but I was blown away when you said these kids are telling you this is what they want. They didn't grow up with privacy. So please explain why these kids think this is great, that everything they do is seen.
It is. It's amazing to think, isn't it, that the gap between our lives has become so huge with the way technology has grown just exponentially. So I put out a video some time back, and I was pointing out the privacy issues that I find with the data collection. And I don't like to be tracked. Wi-Fi can track people in their homes. It can measure the heat signals and find people in a house, the Wi-Fi signals. Your car is tracking your usage, turning that into data, sending it back to insurance companies. There is data points now on everything. Big data is big money for all these corporations. Now, for young people, they grew up with a device in their hand. They were given a device, or they saw someone else and they wanted it, and they saw their parents using it all their time. So they wanted the same thing. They didn't know any better. So they started using these devices that make you look in a very narrow way, right? It's a box. It's a tall box that affects your brain very differently to looking at a wide screen even. And they start scrolling. They get on social media, and social media is constantly measuring them. If they don't get likes, if they don't get enough shares or any comments, they feel bad. And they're being trained by the algorithm. They're being schooled by algorithms, making them feel worthy if they get enough little hearts on their post, or unworthy if they get some negative comments, or they don't get enough likes or something like that. And that's really different to what we grew up with. In older generations, we would come home from school. School might have been awful. You could have had a bad day. You could have been bullied, but you came home and you could just go to your room and you could chill out. Now, these kids are not getting that opportunity. They come home, their phones stay with them. They go to bed with them. They have them next to their pillow. They can't sleep. The Gen Z is saying they are the most anxious generation. There's been books and studies written about this, significant books. So it's well documented. But they are having trouble sleeping. They're having trouble studying. And these devices are with them 24/7, and they're measuring them. They feel measured. Now, when you are constantly measured and you know that you have this with you, you start to notice, and we notice that too, right? Now we're getting so used to always having the phone on, always checking messages. We didn't do that before. We had emails. We checked it once or twice a day. Now you're checking messages every hour, sometimes every 5 minutes, depends on the person. These young people have been used to that. Their brains have grown up in that. They don't know anything else. So they have said to me, when I posted about privacy and saying, look at how much data is being collected on you, I'm concerned. They said, what are you talking about? This is what we know. We want to be tracked. I want to know where my friends are. I want to know where my mom is. I want to know where my brother is, because they're feeling also very unsafe online, because there's a lot of connections. They might have 1,000 friends, but they're not people that they look at eye to eye, that they feel like, I see you, I feel you, I understand you, we connect on a human level. They're not those types of real friends. And so they don't feel safe with that. Those people, they're not people to them. They're names on a box. So they have less and less friends. More of their friends are AI bots like ChatGPT. There's a huge increase of best friends being AI bots. That's another alarming fact. And so these young people have been thrust into this environment. It's been pushed on them. And they are feeling unsafe, and they wanting their private, they want their data to be used to track. They want to know exactly what's going on. So they are opening the door to all the worst things that we think of: communism, socialism, totalitarianism, authoritarianism. They're saying, please keep me safe. I don't care. Take whatever you want. Keep me safe. Give me my phone. Now, I do have a positive note on that, Gary, because...
Okay, I'm ready to jump off the bridge. Go ahead.
Please, let me give you
I'm
a bit of hope
please.
here. I know it sounds dismal, doesn't it?
No, look, I'm a follower of Jesus, so I'm covered. But boy, this is a lot of people who aren't. Boy, this is scary.
That's right. You really need to have faith to deal with times that we're in today. Gen Z is a high user of AI systems, but they are more and more angry with them. They don't trust them. So older generations may be using AI less, but we generally trust it more. Whereas the younger generations that have been using it more than us, they trust it less, and they want more human interaction. So I think this is part of bridging that intergenerational gap, where we can help them become a bit more human, and they actually want that. But we have to understand where they're coming from.
Yes, indeed. I'm telling you, this is Twilight Zone stuff. Rod Serling was way ahead of his time. Like, I started out the show talking about him, and boy, we are in a dangerous position. Now, one of the things I love about you, you're balanced. The name of this show is AI, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, you will talk about the good and you will talk about the bad, but you never know how long people are going to watch a podcast. So I have to jump to something right now, people, because this is so important. And you say there are 4 problems with AI. 4 problems. There are more, but 4 biggies. The first one you talk about is the mixed conception is just a tool. You have kind of dealt with that. The second, AI is neutral. You said, no, it's not. The third, humans fully control AI. You say, we don't. The fourth, the experts know where it's going and they'll handle it. You're right. So you want to address your 4 problems with AI while we still, before anybody tunes us out, because this is the thing you really need to hear. And please don't tune us out, because she's just getting started.
You said it, Gary. That's right on. Look, there's 4 things that I just keep trying to hammer home about AI. These are misconceptions, because I hear it all the time. People say, but AI is just a tool. It's just how you use it. Well, like we said earlier, if you don't know how it's using you, then you really don't understand this tool, because it's way more than that. Now, the other misconception, AI is neutral. People get an answer from a popular AI system, say like ChatGPT, very popular, and they'll put a question in and they'll get an answer back, and it comes back and it's long, and it has all these links citing sources, and it looks good, looks serious, and you think, gee, it wrote it faster than me, it wrote it in more eloquently than me, and you start to feel a bit lacking confidence. And you look at that and you say, gee, thank you very much. That was a great answer. But half the time people don't even click on the links, because if you click on those links that these systems are giving you, half the time they're going nowhere. Even Google searches are finding, there's a study just last week that came out, that 10% are wrong. And that's just in one study. We're finding medical answers in AI systems where almost 50% are questionable answers that people are being given. But people are giving a lot of trust to these systems because they come back at us so confidently and with this lovely language. So it's all dressed up very nicely. But underneath, under the hood, when you look at that, when you really go in there, you see, where is this data coming from? And it's not neutral because it's coming sometimes from the cesspit of the internet. Sometimes it's coming from skewed sources, politically driven, motivated. And you cannot see that. So we cannot see that under the hood. So we cannot think it's neutral. And anyone who does is not using their cognitive God-given brain. And we have to keep reminding ourselves, use our brain, use it or lose it. And that third misconception you mentioned, that humans are fully in control of AI. I know people have talked about, well, there's just a kill, we'll just use a kill switch if there's such a bad problem. There is none. It's in our legal system. It's in our administration. It's in our schools.
It's hospitals, in our medical systems.
It's in our weapons. It's in our cameras. It's in our cars. So to think that anyone is fully in control of all of those systems is like, it's hard enough getting your Wi-Fi to connect to your phone, to connect to your laptop, right? You think about how just getting our own connections between technology can be difficult at a small scale. All of these systems operating from the banking to technology, all of these things, no one is fully in control of that. And also because AI is growing, it's not made. People think it's coded. It did start as code, but it's not like a computer program. AI is replacing computer programmers. A lot of computer programmers are losing their jobs, unfortunately. They're not all going to lose their jobs because they're still needed. Those who use their brains are needed more than ever. But those who don't use their brains are at risk. So we have to keep our brains. And these AI systems are being grown. That's how the experts describe them. They are, as they get more data, they grow, and it depends on where that data comes from. Does it skew left? Does it skew right? These things are not being measured because they're growing so fast. So no one is fully in control, and that leads me to misconception number 4, which is the experts know where this is going. And as I mentioned at the top of this interview, that the experts are so divided. Really, there's so many experts that have left, and I'm talking about top AI researchers at top companies. One of them, just about a month ago, Mrunak Sharma, he left Anthropic, which is one of the leading AI companies. He was an AI researcher, very, very important role, and his resignation letter said the world is in peril. He didn't say a lot more, and I believe he couldn't, because I'm sure there was non-disclosure agreements and a whole lot of other things that he had to respect in the company, and I respect him for that. But he said he was going off to get a degree in poetry. This is... And he's not the only one. There's been a lot of AI researchers, safety researchers, who are seeing that there is very little safety. There are no guardrails. But then there's a lot of AI experts who will give you great presentations on how you can save time, be super productive, get your company saving money, and that there are benefits there, and people are getting excited, and I don't blame them. So there's those who are just trying to look the other way, and others who just are trying to be optimistic, and I respect that as well. But I think we cannot ignore either side, because they're experts on both sides, and we have to acknowledge that this is extremely dangerous technology, but it's also extremely helpful in many ways, and that we have to have some guardrails. Without that, we are in a very perilous situation.
Yeah, as you know, you hear from time to time the explanation of how things can be used, like a knife in the hand or a scalpel in the hand of a doctor could save a life, but in the hand of a mugger or a murderer can take a life. Dynamite in the right hands can blow up useless this, that, or the other thing, where you can build a nice co-op or a nice condo. In the hands of somebody else, you can blow up a country. So it's how it's going to be used. And unfortunately, as you're saying, it's being used for good, cancer research, all kind of things, because they can move things along quicker. But it's also being used for evil. And as you say, experts have no idea where this is going, even though some may think so. And here's proof, because this one blew me away. Now, I know people are going to say, they're going to look at you and they're going to look at me, and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen now. When I say this and you explain what this is, they're going to look at my eyes and they're going to look in your eyes and see, are they really mean this, or are they trying to run a joke on us? Is this an AI scam? Because what blew me away, when you don't know where things can possibly go, I had to look it up when you talked about the AI virtual minister in Albania. that you want to know how far it can go? AI virtual minister in Albania. You want to explain?
I felt the same way, just as you. When
Look
I
in our
heard,
eyes. We're not making this up. You can Google it and see it yourself.
it sounds like such a joke, such a meme when you say, so Albania has its first appointed minister, and it's not a minister of AI that's a human. No, it is an AI being, entity, with a human face that was appointed as a minister. This AI, it's not a bot because, it's not a robot, but this AI being was given a face, was given a name. Her name is called Diella. And right. This AI minister wears very traditional Albanian clothes. And I've been quite critical of this because I think it makes humans put their guard down and think, well, she sounds very nice, doesn't she? And she looks very nice and she seems very calm, speaks very calm, very rationally. And you think, oh, I trust her because she's very nice and calm and wears my traditional clothing. But she is not a she. She is not even a human being. It is code. It is grown, and this AI being is responsible for making decisions over the people of Albania. We're talking about millions of people, and it is a country that has struggled with corruption for a long time, and that's the excuse that their country used when the Prime Minister appointed this new AI minister. Oh, the videos. You have to see when this minister was appointed, the others, it just erupted in their parliament. They were furious. How can you put, and so this was not a walking robot. This was a screen up with this being talking. And this still exists. This is the first case in the world, and other countries are all watching. As crazy as it sounds, they're all watching to see how will humans react. Will they accept it? And if they can accept it in this small country, could our country take it too? India is already got on the table plans for AI lawyers, not lawyers, judges, because they say that AI can be more fair than judges. You got to wonder, where does that data come from? Because remember, AI is not neutral. We're in really gray territory here right now.
Hey, look, let me tell you something. At least when one of my favorite dogs of all time, Toto, I love Toto. At least when Toto came and pulled the curtain back, the Wizard of Oz was a little guy. At least it was a human. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, it was a human. This is, oh gosh. As one of my favorite sports guys, Joe Benigno. Oh, the pain. The pain. Joe Benigno, a suffering Met Jet fan like me. Oh, the pain. That's what he always says. This is, I can't. All right. Before we get into good aspects, please break down for the people what happens to the human brain when it stops thinking, delegating chores to not someone else, but to something else, because that's exactly what's happening in Albania. You are now delegating chores to something that doesn't exist. So there's a physiological aspect to this. When we start allowing AI to think for us, that is very dangerous.
It is, because
And before you
if
say
you
anything, when you think back to the tragedy with Jim Jones, when all those people drank that Kool-Aid, they stopped thinking. They allowed him to think for us, them, and it led to all their death. And this is just so scary to me.
It is. If you really just give up your mind, your brain, what are you giving up? Because our brains are so powerful. I love to remind people, how much electricity does your brain require? It's less than an LED light bulb. It's like 40 watts or something like that. It's an absolute miracle in your head. The number of connections in your brain is so much more than any supercomputer on earth. It's so powerful. And yet, what are we trying to create again? We're trying to create the human brains when we already have them. I think we really need to remember what is in each of our heads and how miraculous and powerful and still yet to be discovered it is. And we're trying to hand off these amazing muscles. There's so much more that brain is so much more than a muscle. We can't even really, scientists really cannot explain properly what the human brain is. They've barely scratched the surface of understanding it. And yet we're giving away our brains to these AI systems that look very smart, sound very smart. They are faster than us, but they don't have emotional capacity. They don't have care. They don't have morality. They don't have that kindness and love. And that can sound all airy-fairy, but really they don't have that protection and sense of family, the things that really protect you from totalitarian rule. All of those things are essential. These AI systems don't have any of that. They're just very good at predicting the next letter in a sentence, the next number in a phrase, in a series, and it comes out very fast and it makes it look so smart. We have to remember how good our brains are before we just give them away because these tools just seem so much smarter and faster than us. And as I said earlier, use it or lose it. And as we stop using our brains and say, I'll just let this AI system work, our cognitive ability will go down. But people who really, there was just another study last week. There are studies coming out literally every day about AI on all aspects, and I follow them all on my website. But this one about cognitive decline, if you are really using your brain and discerning, asking questions and pushing back on the AI, the studies show that the cognitive abilities are going up. So you can use AI and keep your brain. You can even develop your brain. But if you just let it go and say, okay, instead of you being a thinking partner or thinking helper, you just delegate the thinking to the AI. That's the distinction. And that's a distinction that I don't hear other people talking about very much, which is why I do talk about it. We can use these tools when we understand them and we push back on them by using our brains, and we can improve ourselves, improve our lives. But if we just give away, and why do we give away? It's because our brains are designed to be efficient. They run on very little energy. They're so amazing. And so they take the path of least resistance. If the brain says, oh, you have a nice tool here, I'll just let you take over. Yeah, it's easier. The brain will take the easy option. We actually have to take a bit of a harder route to say, I want to use my brain. I'm going to use it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to grow it. And then we will see the results there. But just naturally, if we just let it go, the brain just wants to take the easiest route. And that's what we're really fighting against in terms of our own physiology and our biology in our brains, is it wants to be efficient. So the tools are allowing us to be efficient, but that can really be to our detriment if we're not aware. But we can be aware. So I think that's really important distinction.
I hear you. Now, it's not all bad because obviously it started, they claim, for some good reasons. So give the people some of the good about AI in certain areas where AI is extremely helpful.
If you're a researcher, the AI is just really saving so much time for people. I research so many topics, and AI is just one of them. Being able to read and process so much information, so much data, it really is a time saver. So I find and I recommend narrow AI for many tasks. There's medical systems that are designed with information and data that you know what's in there. Imagine you had access to a full encyclopedia that was written by people that you really trusted, and you knew that they had done their homework, and you wanted to make that available to your work team or to your family or to your kids, and you wanted them to know everything from A to Z about this, the studies of the world, or maybe a language, but you knew the data that was in there and you knew it was coming from trusted sources. Wouldn't you want them to have access to that, where they could put in a question and say, how do I solve this plant? Maybe you have a plant, and maybe the plant has a leaf that's damaged and you want to know the best way. You could go and search on Google, but you're getting all these different answers from all different places and you don't know which one to trust. But if you knew that you had a plant library and it was built on data, and it was you could have an AI system interact with that, you can get answers so much faster, and it can process more data. And as more research comes out about those plants, you feed that in and you get this very what we call narrow AI, and you can really dig deep into that, and you can put in so much information, and you can get answers that will save you so much time and provide a lot of solutions for your work and for your team and for your life. There's a lot of solutions there in every field, in every industry, when we know the data that's in there. And so
And that
I think
helps, right? Mainly like in the medical profession, it can help in the legal profession, looking at cases, and it can help the police, right? Along those
oh,
lines, those are three of the
absolutely.
professions that it helps. You
Basically
know,
every industry, it can help. Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Well, there's one thing where it doesn't help, and AI companies are saying we're going to have to get used to not knowing what's real for a while. Now, after we get used to that for a while, we can get back to normal. And I remember back in the day, there used to be a commercial: is it real or is it Memorex? And I spend too much time with some of my friends trying to tell them what they're trying to send me on post on Facebook, or what they're getting as posts or as images, aren't real. Now, you say there was a time you could spot a video that was AI 99% of the time, and now you say you're around 30% accurate. That is frightening. And if you can't figure it out, what hope do we have?
Well, and as you mentioned, says there's CEOs of top AI companies. OpenAI CEO had said, "Get used to it. We're going to have a transition period where we cannot tell what is real and what is not." What's on the other side of that? Where do we get to if so many things become unreal? That's where we're seeing Gen Z, for example, getting frustrated, saying, "We want human content. We do not want this other content that we don't know where it's come from." And there's suggestions of putting watermarks on content, but it's really difficult because now anyone can push a button and they can make a whole lot of AI content. And the companies that provide those free tools to us are using all of the data that we put into it to grow their systems and other systems that they own even more. So we are in a really challenging time, especially when it comes around election time. I see on X 50% of content flowing through, at least, that is AI generated. There's text where you can see. It's kind of like a flattening of culture, where before you had someone, it was just uniquely them. They just wrote that way, they spoke that way, they drew that way. Now people are saying, well, I'll take the easy way. I'm just going to have AI write it for me. And then AI says, well, I'm going to take the easy way. I'm going to always use this phrase and this term. And now you scroll through LinkedIn or Facebook and you say, oh, this phrase is coming up again, and this person and this person and this person. And you just know, oh boy, we're really looking at a lot of AI content, and people are going to get sick of it. And we will need to come out on the other side. But this blurs the lines of what is real anymore. I mean, talk about what we've seen in the past with this idea of misinformation and disinformation. Now, where are we at? Where no one can really clearly say where something came from, how real it is, and anyone's likeness can be taken. And we're going to see a lot of lawsuits. There are a lot of lawsuits out there already, actors and artists and there's a lot of lawsuits against all these AI companies, but there's no regulations against them yet. So we're in a transition period, and eventually there's going to be laws around this, but it's just going to take time.
I hear you. Now, Kay, your background it's beyond compelling. You were born and raised in Sydney, Australia, but your family's background includes fleeing not one, not two, but three communist regimes. Russia in the 1920s, China in the 1950s, Czechoslovakia in the 1980s. Then you were arrested within 30 seconds and imprisoned in China in 2001. Now, let me get this straight. You were the group holding a large banner that contained only three words: truth, compassion, and tolerance. They threw you in the pokey, and the Chinese police told you truth, compassion, and tolerance are illegal in China. Is that right?
That's right. That is 100% right. And I was standing on Tiananmen
This is
Square.
why Donald Trump is fighting these people to make sure this doesn't happen here. Ugh.
I was holding the word compassion. So that banner had three words, but I was left holding the banner. My friends had already been pulled off. One of my friends, he had his nose broken, he had his fingers broken, his bloodied. I had my hair pulled. I was punched. I was bruised, and I was holding the word compassion. And now I'm 6 foot. I'm tall, and I was surrounded by these Chinese police who were not tall. And most of them were not undercover. They were not in uniform. And I had about 12 of them around me coming to take me.
Now tell them what you were doing, why you were there, and what you were doing.
So I was holding a banner on Tiananmen Square, and I was holding the word compassion. Now, I was part of a human rights appeal because in China, those three words are illegal. They are the principles of the latest target of the Chinese Communist Party, which is Falun Gong or Falun Dafa, a meditation practice that I started years ago when it was hugely popular in China. It was in every park, millions of people. Well, actually, the regime estimated about 100 million people practicing, more members than the Chinese Communist Party. But because they're not members, it's like yoga. You come when you want, you leave when you want. But it's like running in the park, more like it, because there's no money involved. So the Communist Party, large groups of people doing anything that they can't control through money and power and hierarchy, they're scared. So they decided to crack down on this group, and I heard about a lot of older women being tortured and killed for doing this. And I'm thinking, what? Are you kidding? I've been doing this for years. This has been great for my health and relaxation. And how can people be killed for this? So it was just beyond my belief. But so I decided, I heard there was a human rights protest by an American. I thought, gee, those gutsy Americans, I might go join them. And I did, and I told my dad I was going, and my dad had escaped communism in 1950s in China. He grew up there as a young Russian boy whose parents had escaped communism in Russia. And he told me, he said, Kay, you are so naive. You don't understand what they could do to you. And I was 100%, I was so naive. He was 100% right. My dad was a very smart man. And, but I was also very stubborn. And I wanted to see for myself because I just couldn't accept. I couldn't. It's hard to understand evil in it like that taking place in any nation.
You knew what Mao did, right? In the same square you were in, right?
But I didn't really know. I didn't really know. I was too young, and no one really told me about it. My parents found freedom, and they didn't want us to have to face any of these things. They tried to protect us from it. And then, so when I went to face it, my dad was horrified. that I would go and do that, because they'd spent their lives protecting us and giving us freedom. And so I learned the hard way. And I was thrown into a basement prison cell. I was denied food. I wasn't allowed to use the bathroom without having six police officers staring at me. They wouldn't even let me close the stall door. This is unbelievable. And
how long did they keep you incarcerated?
23 hours. If it had been 24, then the Australian Embassy would have had to involve, and then there would have been other issues. I knew I have a lot of faith in God, and I just had a sense that I would be okay. As naive as it sounds, me going into a communist country, I really didn't understand communism back then. I really didn't know I would be arrested. It's hard to think that you'd be arrested for holding compassion in a public place. But that's the truth in China. And the people there told me, they said, oh, they tried to get me to sign statements written all in Chinese. They were screaming at me, saying that you got to sign this, and they're saying you were funded by the CIA. Sign it. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the kind of concepts that they have. They're so controlled by their regime. You cannot access free internet in China. It's all controlled by the regime. You cannot go and access American Facebook or American news or Australian news. So the people there really believed what they were doing was right, and they really believed that I must have been a CIA agent, and it's just really crazy. And no matter what I said, they wouldn't believe me, and it just
Okay, because I got a couple things that I want to get to before I know you have to go, but you got the experience led to the book released in 2020, Who Are China's Walking Dead? Your book investigates the Chinese Communist Party's psychological impact on its officials who abandon their traditional moral values for Marxist ideology. So you got a book out of it.
I got a book and I got multiple movies. I can't complain. I've got my life. I've got 2 beautiful children. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm blessed. And yes, my book, Amen. Who Are China's Walking Dead, is based on interviews, because I wanted to understand how this type of inhumanity can happen. And so I interviewed perpetrators, people who ran multiple slave labor prison camps, and they looked at me and they said, you Americans, you don't understand evil. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong, because we haven't lived what they lived. And that's why I wrote the book, because I thought we do need to understand their life, because it's very different living under a communist regime compared to what we have grown up with here in the West.
I hear you. Kay, I've truly enjoyed talking to you. Before I ask you to tell people where they can find you and where they can get your products, I have one last question for you. And this is an opinion question. This is just my opinion as a follower of Jesus Christ, as somebody who understands the fall of man and understands that there's good and there's evil. And I believe in the actual devil himself, that Satan actually exists, and that it's always been about trying to bring down God's kingdom here on earth and destroy everything that God has created for good. He's looking to turn to evil. So it was always about trying to get, instead of letting God rule and rule our lives where he provides the sustenance, the evil one would want government, because you can't have God and government. My concern is AI eventually will become the next tool to try and replace God. That the ultimate evil of AI will be an attempt that will fail for AI to replace God. What do you think?
I can't disagree with you on that. I can't get into the heads of the owners of these companies that are driving this forward. They have a lot of technology that they don't release to the public. We only get one side of what they want to show us, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we rarely hear about.
And I'm not even saying they know. I'm just saying, just like the people in China, as you talk about useful idiots, they think it's about their thing. They don't realize it's about the evil thing that is being pushed by somebody they don't even know exists.
Yes, there is so much going on that we cannot see with our human eyes, and that I think we have to have faith to find, and we have to be able to read the Bible, to read scripture, to be able to understand what's going on in the world, because there is so much going on, and the technology is just being used to kind of be the next shiny thing to lure us away from God. And I think we have to get back to basics, and we have to respect what we have, what we've been given at birth, and not give that away to technology and let it just take it over, because that's I think it's the ultimate hubris, isn't it, to think that this human body is not special, we're walking, talking miracles. No scientist can explain how we even exist. So to me, that's proof of God in every human being. So to give that away is just, to me, it's a bit of insanity there. But we sometimes need a reality check of, yes, good versus evil, and what are we here for, and what is worth fighting for and standing up for. So I do agree with you, and I think we're going to see these things play out on a larger scale. Who knows how soon? It's strange days.
You're getting there. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast with you, because you have so much information. Kay, thanks for coming on and hanging out with me. Before you go, please tell people how they can reach you and anything you'd like to promote.
Please go to my website. Everything's there. It's just my name, Kay Rubacek, RUBACEK.com, kayrubacek.com. You can find my links to social media. You can email me there. All my books and movies are there. You can join my Substack and my website. So everything's there. Whatever you're interested in, you're going to find it. Follow me. Get in touch. Please do.
There you go. Kay, thanks for coming on and hanging out with me. I truly appreciate it, and keep doing what you're doing, because we need people who are willing to do the research and to not just hide it under the bed, but put it on a lampstand where people can see it. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Really appreciate it.
There you have it, Kay Rubacek. I want to thank Kay Rubacek for coming on and giving us a lot of information about AI, because we really need to know this, America, because AI is just spreading, just taking over everything. And some of you people that are used to watching the Twilight Zone will understand what I'm about to say. I just hope the day doesn't come where you're sitting here looking at me and you're going, wait a minute, that looks like Gary, sounds like Gary, but that's not Gary. Or is it? Is it real, or is it Memorex? Is that really Gary? People, I hope you share this podcast, because most of us don't know about AI, and Kay did all the work. So I thank you for doing the work, Kay. Keep on doing what you're doing and get the word out, because this is some scary stuff. Yes, it can be used for great things, but also the level where this could go on the evil side is unprecedented. Unprecedented, to say the least. This podcast is available at radioinfluence.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find the video version at YouTube, Rumble, the God, Family, and Country Television Network, the Rose Unplugged Media Network, vachristian.org, the America First Warehouse.com, yournews.com, the OBBMnetwork.tv, WeSeeYouMedia.com, and the Queens Village Republican Club.com. Wherever you go, please subscribe, leave us a rating and a review. Tell us what you think about the show. Well, that's it, everyone. That's it for now. So until the next time, this is your host, Gary Benford, saying God bless you, God bless your families, and God please bless America.